What's up, weirdos? How are you all doing on this casual Tuesday? Um, all right, let's see here. We have in the chat. Also, Toby is rubbing his face all over the bed. I guess he's itchy. And sneezing. He's also sneezing, making noises. Toby, Toby. No, calm down. Let's see. We have Mark. We have Antwish. Um, Bum, bum, bum. We have Sarah, we got Stacy, we got Batman. Um, Thank you all for being here. Let's see. We got Larry. Also, sorry if the thumbnail was not right. I'm honestly not sure if it is or not. Unclear, but I'm glad you all know to be here and know what's going on. But tonight we're talking about Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, and of course, Cannibal, the musical. And I do appreciate that you guys are letting me talk about Cannibal as well. I just wanted to check out another one that I hadn't seen before, as I, of course, have seen Sweeney Todd many times. So I just want to check out a different horror musical for this month, as this is our last week of May, which is crazy, right? Like, this being the last week of May is kind of blowing my mind. And it's just, I don't know, it's wild that I've been indoors for like over 2 months, and I'm in New York. Some things are getting a little better here, it seems. Most things are not open or anything like that, but our death toll is down a lot, so apparently things are going to start opening up at certain points. My family in other parts of the country, things are opening up where they are. So I kind of hope this is all sort of winding down and life can go a little bit back to normal, but we'll see. We'll see. Hi, Danielle. Glad you're here as well. And Darling Darkness, hi. Yeah, Cannibal is so weird. It was so weird. But it was also, you have to like remember, it's like someone's college thesis film. It's the South Park guys. We'll get to it. I did think it was funny. I think it would have been funnier if I was like a teenage boy. I think I would have laughed a lot more than I did, but that's okay. Let me let's see here. All right, let's go ahead and start with Sweeney Todd, though, because I feel like more people probably watched that one. Everyone bailed on Cannibal. That's so funny. It's funny because I didn't watch it until today, and I also had that feeling. I did finish it, but there was many times where I was like, I'm bored, I don't care, like, I'm probably going to turn this off at a certain point, and then I didn't. I finished it, so who knows. Let's see. We got Slops in here. What's up? Or good morning to you, I guess. Thanks for being here. Oh, that's so. Let's see. I don't know if I'm probably gonna say this wrong. Lopke, sorry, Vision Films. Yeah. There is a movie on Shudder called Z. I guess you just saw the ad for it. I think it's apparently good. I think I heard some people saying it was good, so I don't know. But yeah, as I start talking, you guys, because we haven't done this in a couple weeks, I'm pretty sure. If you guys want to go ahead and talk a little bit about what you saw this week, what you watched, if anyone did the Chattanooga Film Festival, virtual film festival, if anyone saw anything that they think the rest of the group would be interested in checking out, go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get into Sweeney Todd. So, this the movie is based off of the Sondheim musical, which is something that I loved growing up. Like, I don't even think I ever saw a stage production, but I loved the soundtrack. And this is a musical that was actually based off of a play, which I think was based off a story, like a short story, unclear. But the musical, which the movie is based off, is from 1979. Music and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, who wrote many of the most amazing musicals that I think we have today. And the book is by Hugh Wheeler. And then the play version from 1973 was written by Christopher Bond, if we care. But good for Christopher. Okay. And past the original Broadway production in 79, there's been national tours, there was a West End production, there was a Broadway revival, and then finally in 2007 we get the film adaptation that we're talking about today. And then again, by the way, while we're talking, there was another West End revival, and then in 2017 they did it back in New York as an off-Broadway, and they performed the musical in an actual... Oh, actually, sorry, this is the West End version first. They did it in an actual pie shop for, like, a small audience, and then they brought it to New York and, like, built a pie shop to do the New York version of it, which is cool. So it's had many lives. And, by the way, the year that it did debut on Broadway, it won the Tony Award for Best Musical, Best Book, Best Score. So that's pretty freaking impressive, I'll say. Pretty freaking impressive. Okay. So, Tim Burton. So, Stephen Sondheim is sort of famously not super interested in film adaptations of his work. But he was intrigued when he got Tim Burton's proposal, and he thought Tim Burton was like kind of the only guy that could really realize his vision for this. And Tim Burton, you know, has the most amazing aesthetic that I think everyone, he's like one of the filmmakers that I think has the most clear aesthetic. Everyone knows him. Everyone knows a piece of his work when they see it. He has such a director trademark, and I love his works. So much of his work was very influential on me as a child, and as I got older. But Sondheim was very interested in the Tim Burton aesthetic for Sweeney Todd, and also the fact that Tim Burton was interested in having it quite bloody, because a lot of times for the stage versions, they either try to theatricalize the blood in a non-bloody way, take out some of the gore to make it easier for the stage, when Tim Burton felt that the blood is actually like such an emotional release for Sweeney's character, and that part was really, really important for the telling of the story. And so Sondheim was like, go for it. Okay. And so Tim Burton, he was only going to do this movie if he could have, of course, Johnny Depp. They had collaborated on a lot of movies in the past. Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I guess that was later. Or was that before? I can't remember the timeline necessarily. But he definitely only wanted to do it if Johnny Depp could do it. And then Helena Bonham Carter came into the picture because she was, of course, dating Tim Burton at the time. I think they're actually no longer together, which is just the saddest thing ever. But they were together at the time, and she was actually pregnant during filming this, by the way, which I always find fascinating. When someone's pregnant while filming a movie, I'm just like, that sounds so stressful. But she didn't want to just like feel like she got the role because of her boyfriend. So she ended up sending, I think, like 12 different audition tapes to Sondheim to like prove that she could sing. And Sondheim was like, yeah, that was great. You sound great. So that's cool. And then for some of the other cast members, we do have, I think Johnny Depp's actually the only American in the cast. Also, did I miss anyone? Was it? Okay. Oh, Sarah's here. Hi. Sorry if I missed you earlier. Okay. So in terms of the rest of the cast, our villain of the movie is Judge Turpin, played by Alan Rickman. Rest in peace. But we have a lot of Harry Potter alumni in this, which I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so that's just fun for me. But so, yes, we have Helena Bonham Carter, who played, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting names right now. You know, the Evil Witch. We have Alan Rickman, who played Snape. We have Timothy Spall, who plays Beetle in this movie and played Peter Pettigrew. We have Sacha Baron Cohen, which this is one of the more wild casting choices, I think, because I'm trying to think like 2007 in terms of his timeline, because Borat came out, I guess, in 2006, which feels very, very close to this movie, and Borat was sort of his big, you know, the big hit that made his career. And similarly to Helena, he's in, I think he actually ended up singing almost the entire Fiddler on the Roof. I'm sorry, my words cannot work tonight. He's saying like basically the entire score to Fiddler on the Roof for Sondheim to also prove he could sing, and Sondheim was like, "You can sing, sounds great." And I think he's actually one of the better singers in this movie. And then some of the less famous actors, we have Jamie Campbell Bower, who plays Anthony. We have Laura Michelle Kelly, who plays Lucy / Beggar Woman, same person. And then we have Jane Weisner, who plays Joanna. And her casting is funny because I feel like she does look a lot like Christina Ricci, who is, like, of course, a Tim Burton favorite. But she definitely does have that sort of, like, large forehead, big eyes, tiny rest of features look. That is, I think, very famous in Tim Burton's work. But she was, I believe, like 19 at the time of filming, and she's Irish, and they initially had like passed on her because they thought she was too old for the role. They wanted someone younger. They wanted someone that looks 15, 16. And so she sent like a picture of herself wearing no makeup, and they were like, "Wow, you look really little." So they ended up casting her. And they also give her the bleached eyebrow look in this movie, which I think is just like so, I don't know, very Tim Burton, very awesome. Hello, Ollie. Welcome, welcome. And Anthropomorphic Fiend. Oh, also, okay, so Anthropomorphic Fiend, your name is Martin, right? Did I get that right? So I hope I got that right. Did you graduate today from high school? I think I saw that on Instagram, and if you came tonight, I wanted to mention it. So if I'm correct, let me know in the chat, and then everyone say congratulations, because that is very, very exciting. I have a cousin who is also graduating from high school, and I know this is such a strange time to be going through this big, life event. So I just want to say congrats to you, proud of you. And that's very exciting. Okay, so here I am again. Let's see. Next up, we have Ed Sanders, who plays Toby, which I think is the funniest thing ever. Toby, come here. Come here. Here's Toby, also known as Tobias. I think he's more referred to as Tobias in the stage play. Okay, good. Yes, Martin did graduate today. Congratulations. I loved your picture with you and your fangs. I thought that was really funny. But it's so exciting. Let's see. Yeah, I love all the congrats. You guys are so awesome. Okay. So Toby's character, he's the little boy in this. And it's funny, I did read that a lot of times in the stage productions, they actually have an adult play Toby as sort of like an intellectually disabled person, I'm pretty sure. So that's interesting, but for the movie, they wanted to go with a child. Hello, Andres, what's up? So that's pretty cool. And he is also just totally adorable in it as well. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention, John Logan did do the screenplay for this. And he's done a lot of stuff. Let's see. He's one of the creators of Penny Dreadful. I didn't even know that, but that's really cool. But he's done some of the James Bond movies. He did Rango, Hugo. Pretty famous dude. Good job. Good career going. We have Zach. Hey, what's up? Glad you're here. Okay, so that's pretty much, we've gone through the cast. Is there anyone else I wanted to mention before we keep going? I think that's good. Oh, I did not see the rating. Yeah, this is rated R, and I couldn't really remember what the rating on this is, because in my head, because I guess I did see it in middle school, because I was very familiar with the plot and everything, it wasn't a shock to me. But I thought I just remembered it having a very PG-13 feel to it. And I've seen it but I guess I haven't seen it in a few years. But when I rewatched it today, I was actually delighted by the amount of blood in it. And so when I looked up the rating, I was like, is it R? And it is. So that's kind of fun. Okay, so plot. We have our main character of Sweeney, whose actual name is Benjamin Barker. And at the beginning of the movie version, he comes in on a boat with Anthony, the young, teenage boy. And he's arriving back to London, where he has not been for 15 years. And we basically get the backstory of what's going to start this big revenge movie. Okay? So we find out that 15 years before we start off, he was falsely convicted of an unclear crime, basically by Judge Turpin, who has decided that he's going to just get rid of Benjamin Barker so he can marry Barker's wife, Lucy. Lucy has recently had a baby, Joanna, and they are this perfect, happy family. And then Judge Turpin literally just comes in and says, "No, you are going to, you're going to jail or wherever he sends him off to, exiled." And he tries to take over Lucy, which is just gross and weird and rapey. Okay, and so Benjamin Barker comes back for revenge. He decides he's going to go under a alias, Sweeney Todd, so no one knows who he is. It's 15 years later. He has, someone already mentioned, but the glorious skunk white stripe in his hair, which I just love. I actually know a girl that has big curly hair and she has one blonde stripe, and it's so cute. Love that look. And so he returns to where he used to live, and in the bottom there is this Mrs. Lovett's meat pie shop. So this is a much more of a thing in the UK than it is in America. We don't really have pie shops. Also, savory pies are much less of a normal dish here, though I love savory things and I love pie, so I feel like a meat pie would just be I love chicken pot pies, so I guess that counts. But I feel like meat pies, I would freaking love that. So I wish that was more of a thing here. But it's apparently much more a thing in the UK. If any of my UK friends in here, let me know. Do you have meat pie shops near you? Are they delicious? So, and then she also famously at the beginning, sells the worst pies in London, and we get that amazing song. And we will go through some of the songs because I feel like this soundtrack is pretty amazing, and I love so many of the songs in this musical. So Miss Lovett recognizes Sweeney Todd as Benjamin Barker, and has always had a thing for him. It's infatuated with him, and then eventually I'll say in love with him. And so she kind of spins a bit of a lie. And unclear how much of this is a lie, but she says that Turpin, after Benjamin Barker, I'll just go by Sweeney Todd now, after Sweeney Todd had been exiled, that Turpin had lured Lucy to this big masquerade ball where he then raped her in front of everyone at the party. That's not so bluntly said, but it's sort of what is inferred by the shots that they show us. And then after that she poisoned herself with arsenic and died. Well, I guess she technically never says died. And then she says that the daughter, Joanna, is now, Turpin has taken her in as his own, as his daughter, and keeps her locked away in his house. So, yikes, right? And so Sweeney Todd at this point decides, or they sort of decide together, that he's going to reopen his barbershop, and he's going to lure Turpin there and eventually kill him. So that's sort of the plan. And Mrs. Lovett also presents him with his old, beautiful silver razors set, which are the most iconic thing of the film, I guess. And she's been hiding them under a floorboard up in his old apartment, saving them. And even though, like, her character, I feel like totally would have sold them, like, immediately afterwards, but I guess not. And yeah, so that's sort of their story. That's where they're about to head off into that world of revenge. Anthony, we also have a little side story with him. He is like walking by Turpin's house, I guess, and he sees Joanna up in the window, and she is singing the song Greenfinch and Linenbird, which is a song I actually sang for something at some point. Can't remember, back when I was a teenager. And it's a really nice song, and he falls madly in love with her, of course, classic. And he is caught by Turpin and the henchman Beetle and kicked out and said, if you ever come back here, we'll kill you, basically. Okay. And then we're about to be introduced to our last sort of two characters. So we have this fake Italian barber, Adolfo Pirelli. Am I saying that right? I can't remember how he says it in the movie. But he's basically selling this hair tonic that is not real, that is probably just food coloring and pee, apparently. And he is selling it, and also he has an assistant, little Tobias, the little boy. And Tobias is wearing like this blonde wig and trying to show everyone that this hair tonic totally works. And Adolfo is so abusive to Tobias. That's one of the things that I was a bit surprised by. But then I found out it was rated R. But like, there's even the shot of like him sharpening his knives, and they just keep hitting Tobias's knuckles, and it's just like, I'm like, oh my god, it's like so child abuse. And I was like, oh right, like they didn't want this to be a kids movie. This is a rated R horror musical, which is like, I think so funny and amazing that they got that passed, because I feel like this kind of movie, a studio system would just so desperately want to be PG-13 to appeal to the widest audience possible, as they always say. And somehow they got this thing to be rated R and has all these like really dark themes in it, and dark moments like child abuse and things like that. So that's really fun. Okay. Oh, I also got to come to the chat. How's everyone doing? Did anyone say anything about the pies? Yes. Oh, Slop says you have meat pies. That's cool. That's exciting. Let's see. Oh, Raphael, hello from Costa Rica. I think I've said this before, but I'm half Costa Rican, so yay. Um, Batman says if anyone needs pie info, I'm from the UK and can give it. Noted. Ooh, Stacy says we call them meat pies and tortories. I like that. That sounds fancy. I'm into that. Very exciting. Sorry, I'm so behind in the chat, but I'm scrolling down. Aw. This is piss and ink. Yeah, that's what Martin said. That's one of the lines. Also, we have Tracy in the chat. Hello, welcome. Glad you're here. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, so those are sort of our full cast of characters. That's everyone. And now at this point, once everyone's introduced, we're about to kind of get to the deaths pretty quickly. I think there were a total of 12 casualties of this film, most of them just dying by the classic razor across the throat. And there's something I do want to mention that I wish I had done research on, but I didn't really. I'll see if I can pull up my phone now. But there was, I believe, a high school production of Sweeney Todd. I think it was last year, where, yes, I got it. I found it immediately, thank God. Oh, it was in New Zealand. I thought it was in America. Okay, so basically what happened is they had these actual razors used on stage to do this production of Sweeney Todd, and it was a high school musical production, and they tried to blunt them, and they said that they were blunted, But during one of the performances, two actors were nicked on their neck during their scenes on stage, which literally could have killed them. So these two 16-year-olds were rushed to Auckland City Hospital after sustaining injuries during a performance of Sweeney Todd. And this is in Auckland, New Zealand. One boy had serious and the other moderate injuries. Both were discharged the next day, so they were fine. They lived. And so it's just a little bit wild because typically, especially in a high school production, they would be using prop razors and not actual razors that someone just tried to dull down. Especially when you're dealing with young actors that are going to be extremely nervous and excited and maybe overdo things in performance that they didn't do in rehearsal. You just never know. And it just feels so insane to me. But I thought that was so crazy. I remember when this story happened. I'm trying to see the date. Oh, this was actually 2016. That's so funny. I felt like it was last year, but it was 2016. But that happened in New Zealand, so yikes. But I think it's just like such an interesting story that people getting actually it's like that itself could be a movie of like kids getting killed for real, but it's supposed to be in the performance of a musical. I feel like that's such a movie. Um, Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so now that I gave that little fun story for you guys, we have let's get to some of the murders. So, um, also, we have something that really sets a lot of things into action. By the way, is that Turpin does actually end up coming to to Sweeney Todd for a shave. And so Sweeney is totally about to kill him. And it's like, wow, the movie's going to end really, really fast, right? And then, of course, we have Anthony bursting in, saying he is going to steal Joanna away because Turpin is decided that he is going to marry his daughter, Joanna, which is so gross. And I guess technically she is not his actual daughter, but it is just so creepy in every single way. So there's that. But I think the first actual murder of the movie is Pierelli, who is the fake Italian dude. He comes in and he actually recognizes Sweeney Todd as Benjamin Barker. He said he used to work for Benjamin Barker. He used to sweep the floors and whatever. And he says like he basically threatens him and says like he's gonna have to pay him money now to keep his secret, blah blah blah. And Sweeney Todd's like, no, and just ends up beating him to death with a hot kettle, which is so fun. And even though you don't get a lot of brutal like facial smashing, you do get the steam. It's like every time like it hits, you just see like some steam. Which I think is like a nice little touch and fun. And then we have Tobias like running up the stairs and it comes in and we have this nice comedy moment of Sweeney has already stuffed Pierelli in the trunk and is just pouring himself a nice cup of tea when Tobias enters like nothing has happened. And I think that's a really special thing about this movie. And what's also needed is the comedy elements of it, the really dark comedy elements, because that's sort of what it is in the musical as well. It's like, yes, you can have all this dramatic bloodshed and singing, but you have to cut that with comedy or it's like can just feel too emotionally, what's that word? Manipulative or something? Like it needs to, it's like you need to have these moments of like, ah ha 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 ha. Or else I feel like it doesn't work as well. And I feel like they put just enough of those in that it's really, really good. And this, by the way, like not even horror musical, but just in terms of like movie musicals in general, this is one of my favorite adaptations of any musical. And as you well know by now, I'm a big fan of the musicals. So, okay, so basically, he doesn't get to kill Turpin. Bummer. Okay. And so Turpin decides that he's so upset because he finds out that Joanna was planning to leave him, was never going to marry him, feels so betrayed, and so he decides he's going to send her to an insane asylum, which I'm assuming is also probably what he did with her mother Lucy, though we don't really get that information, and I assume that's actually what happened. And then at this point, Sweeney Todd is he's terribly upset. He feels like he missed his chance. And now he hates the world so much. He hates London. He's just going to kill as many people as he can before he finally gets to kill Turpin. And then here comes Mrs. Lovett with the lovely idea, which has the whole theme of today's video in it. She says, well, what are we going to do with these bodies? Okay, we could just try to get rid of it, or we could not put it to waste because, meat is just so expensive. And she even mentions, putting cat meat in the pies and all this stuff in the pies just because meat's so expensive. And they have all this fresh meat now. Why would they not use it? And so Sweeney Todd thinks this is an amazing idea. They're a match made in heaven. And they have this lovely song about all the people they're going to kill and what they would taste like, and just awesome. And they're going to turn them into meat pies, which is just very, very fun. And then we have, of course, the famous contraption, which I think is also from the musical, where the butcher's chair, which is in the upstairs apartment, has a trapdoor under it. So after Sweeney Todd slits someone's throat, he can drop the trapdoor. The body will slide down, down, down into the basement, where Miss Lovett will put it through the meat grinder, make it into a pie, and sell it to other Londoners, which is just amazing. Okay. So they're doing this for a while, having a grand old time. And it seems to be going quite well. They start making a lot of money. The place is full. Everyone loves the pies. And then she starts trying to, seal the deal, I'll say, with Sweeney. She is clearly in love with him at this point, and she talks to him about wanting to, go to the seaside together, get married, have a life together. She wants him to forget revenge, forget his dead wife, and marry her and have a new life with her and Toby. And now that I'm saying all this, I just don't think there's any other thing to do than for me and Travis to be Sweeney and Mrs. Lovett for Halloween this year with Toby. I think that is the only thing to do. I think I have to. I've also never dressed up as Mrs. Lovett, and that would be such a fun costume to work on. That would be a really good one. Oh, man. And to work on that, because I would obviously help Travis with his. I like this idea a lot, and I feel like Travis would really like that character. Okay, I'm calling it now. October 2020, Sweeney Todd Halloween. I think it's a perfect costume. And I'm excited now, because we have a Toby. It's why would we not do it? We have to. We have to. Martin in here said, shepherd's pie peppered with actual shepherd. Delicious. Yeah, it also, okay, so also Miss Lovett, while she's telling Sweeney all this stuff, he has this just amazing deadpan look. He just does not care. He's so checked out of anything she's saying. He's just sure, whatever you want. I don't care. And it's so funny because she's trying so hard, and it's just it's just not going to happen for her, and it's so sad because she loves him. Her story in this is kind of tragic because she kind of has this horrible business, has the love of her life come back to her, even though she's not the love of his life. She finally forms this little family with her and Tobias, who she cares so much about. She finally has this huge, thriving business. She can sort of see a future for herself for the first time. And then she comes to a tragic end after having to basically decide to okay. Getting ahead of myself. Okay. Okay, so Anthony decides he is going to go save Joanna from the mental asylum. He does so by posing as a wig maker, which I think was quite smart. And I can't remember if that's in the musical or not, but I think it's very smart. He goes to get her, and This part is a little different than the musical, and I kind of wish they had kept with the original plot. But basically, when he goes to get her in the musical, Anthony can't seem to shoot the guy that is holding all of these women captive in the asylum. And so Joanna takes the gun and shoots him in the musical. And this version, and I think in this version in general, Joanna is a much more damsel in distress with no ability to save herself in any way, really. And I think that's a little unfortunate. Even though I do love the moment of all the women in the asylum rushing at that guy to like rip him to shreds, I think that's an amazing image. But I did kind of want more for the character of Joanna in this movie. Though we do get a little bit of her strength when they're having the conversation about like, okay, what now? Now that you've rescued me, like our life isn't just going to be perfect now. Like there is always suffering. It's always going to be like, you can't escape all these horrible things that have happened. And Anthony's like, but I saved you. Everything's going to be fine. And Joanna's like, it's not going to be fine. And so we do have that moment of strength for her, but I do think it would have been really nice to have her take the gun out of Anthony's hand and shoot her captor herself, I think. But, you know, whatever. I didn't direct it. Okay. So, okay, at this point, we have some suspicion around Sweeney Todd for a couple of reasons. One, because there is a stench coming from the chimney of Mrs. Lovett's meat shop in the middle of the night, which is, of course, the stench of burning human flesh. So that is, we're having some neighbors complain about that. Toby is becoming very suspicious of Sweeney and ends up telling Mrs. Lovett his suspicions in this beautiful song, telling her that nothing's gonna harm you, not while I'm around, like this beautiful song. And the whole time Mrs. Lovett is listening to it, she knows, like, this kid knows, and if he knows that we're killing people, we have to kill him. And that honestly breaks her heart because she loves this kid so much. Like, she takes him on sort of as her own child in a way. She gives him a job. He like came from the workhouse. Sorry, just readjusting. And like she like gave him a chance at life, and Toby sort of gave her a chance at life too, to like care for someone. And so it's so sad because when he fully reveals that he thinks Sweeney is killing people, Mrs. Lovett's like, okay, kid, now you gotta go, which is such a bummer. So she ends up locking him down in the basement to like kind of deal with him later. And one second. I'm drinking beer tonight instead of White Claws. And though we got some beer this past week just to like change it up. And it's funny, like when I started drinking it, I was like, wow, this is so refreshing to drink something different than White Claw, because I've been drinking White Claws for like 2 months. But now I'm like not sure if I care anymore about the beer anymore. I should really switch to like wine or something, but I don't know why I don't, because then I'd have to go to the liquor store. That's probably why. Okay. Coming back to the chat. How you guys doing? Oh my god, it's already 8:42. Sorry. I just realized I gotta get to the other one. Okay, so boop boop a doop. Where was I? Okay, she locks Toby in the basement. Okay, great. And then the little beetle guy comes to the shop because of the complaints from the stench from the chimney. Sweeney Todd brings him upstairs. He says he's going to give him a grooming. He ends up murdering him, of course. He falls to the basement, and then a bunch of murders in a row happen, right? So they start searching for the boy, trying to find him, and there's this whole little scene of them going through the basement, being like, Toby, come out. And I'm like staring at my dog, just like, Toby, get away from these people. But he didn't ever respond to them saying his name, which I thought was strange. But that's okay. Oh, boom. Okay, and so Anthony ends up bringing Joanna from the insane asylum. He brings her to hide at Sweeney's apartment for a little bit while he gets everything together. And then the beggar woman. So I haven't really mentioned her, but she comes in a bunch. She talks about the stench. She talks about evil people. She talks about murder. She's sort of this like baddie old lady that's running around town being like, can't anyone see that something really bad is happening? And everyone's like, get out of here, you little old beggar. And it's poor thing. And we're going to figure out her significance in a hot second. But she ends up coming in, and she's looking around. Joanna hides in the trunk in Sweeney's apartment / workspace. And the woman is up there, and then Sweeney Todd enters and is like, what are you doing here? And then they hear Turpin coming up, so Todd just immediately kills this beggar woman, thinking she's disposable, sends her through the trapdoor, she falls down there, and then Turpin comes in, and what we're about to find out, of course, is that the beggar woman is actually Lucy, his wife. So Lucy never actually died. She did take arsenic, but it didn't end up killing her, but it did send her a little insane in the brain, if you will. And so he's actually just killed his own wife, but he doesn't know it yet. And then Turpin comes in. Sweeney plays nice with him, saying that he's going to help him get Joanna back, blah, blah, blah. And then he finally reveals to him that he is not Sweeney Todd, but Benjamin Barker. And then Sweeney Todd kills Turpin by slicing him many, many ways and dumping him into the bakehouse. So we finally do get to kill the bad guy, if you will. At this point, Joanna comes out of the trunk, and Sweeney is about to kill her too, because she's dressed as like a little sailor boy as a disguise, and he has no idea it's his daughter. And then we hear Mrs. Lovett scream from downstairs, and so he just tells her to forget his face and to run. And she goes. But he never actually realizes he's just staring at his daughter. And she doesn't know either because she thinks Turpin's her father. So she actually doesn't really know her whole situation either. So they don't recognize each other. Okay, and so then Sweeney goes down to the basement. He discovers the beggar woman was actually his wife. He's so mad at Mrs. Lovett for lying to him about his wife, and so he ends up throwing her into the fiery oven of hell, and she burns there alive. And that's what I was saying earlier about Mrs. Lovett just having this really sad story, because she tried so hard, she finally got her life on track, she loved a man, and then he threw her into the fire. And it's just such a bummer. And then Toby comes in as Sweeney is, holding his dead wife. And Toby is the one, and he slices Sweeney's throat with Sweeney's own razor. And Toby leaves, and Sweeney bleeds to death over his wife. And it's so, sort of like this like Greek tragedy in a way, where it's like all of our characters at the end basically die. The only winners, the people that live, are the young ones, Toby and Joanna and Anthony. And everyone else, the old London, all those people, they end up having to die. And it's a dang bummer. So that is that movie. And I love every second of it, truly. I love this movie. I think it's so well done. I love the Tim Burton aesthetic, and I think this is really him at like the height of his aesthetic and choices. I love the blood. I love how brutal and graphic they kept this, despite it being a musical. So I just think it's awesome. So that is that. And now, though we don't have too much time, we're going to talk about Cannibal the Musical, but I think it's okay because apparently a lot of you passed on it, which I understand because it's not one of the ones we actually voted for, so I totally get it. But so Cannibal the Musical, why I wanted to watch it, first of all, was just to watch something I had never seen before, one that I had not really heard about, And this is by the South Park guys, okay? So Trey Parker, Matt Stone, while they were studying at University of Colorado, it doesn't say this was their thesis film for college, but it's something like that. They made it while they were in school towards the end of it. And so it is sort of a student film in that way, but it's sort of, you can tell like where they're going to go with their humor later to create South Park. This came out in 1993, and I think South Park started in like 97-ish, somewhere, maybe 95, I can't remember. But it wasn't too long afterwards. But it is actually based, so at the beginning it says it's based off a true story, which of course I was like, yeah, right. Like I thought that was all part of the joke, but apparently it was based on a true story. About this guy named Alfred Packer, who was known as the Colorado Cannibal. He was a wilderness guide. He led these people into the mountains, and they all ended up dying except for him, and so he resorted to forced cannibalism to stay alive when they became lost in the mountains. And so when they were brought back, or when he survived, he came back, and he was put in jail for eating people. And he was eventually, he was at first sentenced to death, and then he got a retrial, and then he was sentenced to 40 years in prison. I think he just died in prison. But it actually was based on a real guy. He died in 1907. So that's already crazy. Okay. Second beer time to discuss this crazy movie. Okay. So this was, Sweeney Todd was a musical and then a movie. This was a movie and then a musical. So, this did have a stage production in 98. I think it ran off Broadway for a little bit at the Crane Theater, which is a theater I know very well here, for some amount of time. And then it played at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2008. So there's been a bunch of revamps of it over time. I'm sure the rights are not very expensive to make, but who knows, maybe they are. But the movie starts out with a kind of shocking scene, and it's funny because when I was watching it today, I was eating lunch, and I actually decided to watch a YouTube video while I finished my lunch because this opening scene was pretty graphic. So the film starts, and we basically hear about we watch a reenactment of the gruesome cannibalism that we assume Alfred Packer did, and we see him basically rip all these guys to shreds in various ways. He rips one guy's jaw off. He's eating them. It's just bloody and strange, and it looks very DIY in terms of the filmmaking. But the gore and the blood, it looks pretty good, honestly. Like, for what it is, I think it's kind of impressive. And it's a lot. And then after we see this all this eating of people and gruesomeness, eventually, zooms out and we see that we're actually listening to an attorney describe the cannibalism to a courtroom during Packer's trial. And so this basically goes back in time, and it's sort of like in terms of the plot, apparently it's actually quite close to what happened. We just have this ridiculous cast of actors and songs and stupid jokes and stuff surrounding the plot, but the plot itself is actually pretty close to what happened. During a break from the trial, he's sitting in jail, and this journalist named Polly Pry comes in, and she wants to hear his side of the story. By the way, Alfred Packer is played by Trey Parker, by the way. And so Polly Pry convinces him to tell his side of the story, and then we see a series of flashbacks throughout the movie. We come back to the jail cell some, but mostly a lot of flashbacks about what really happened up in the mountains, basically. So we find out he was in a group of miners, in Utah that were trying to go to Colorado because apparently there was going to be gold there. And so he ends up leading this group of people, even though he can't, even though he's not really that well equipped to do it. It's going to lead them into Colorado to find the gold, as they do back in the day. um, and this group of characters, like, it's so funny because I'm not a huge South Park person, and not because I don't think it's funny, but just because it's not something I grew up watching, and so I just don't really watch it. I don't know why. And this kind of humor, once again, it's not that I don't think it's funny. It's just not my style of humor. Like, it definitely feels like teenage boy humor, which is totally valid and fine. That's awesome. I love a fart joke as much as the next person. But there is something about this that, because it's so over the top and so ridiculous, I did have kind of a hard time, like, sticking to it and, like, getting really into it. Because the songs are funny, like, it's over the top, but it's so much someone's first attempt at this stuff. And then once you get to, like, South Park, and then of course once we get to Book of Mormon, which is like the musical they made in 2011, which is a huge Tony Award winning musical, like, spot on humor, everything. And so it's like you eventually get to that, but this is like almost 20 years before that. And so it does feel like some of the songs and the humor, it's a little sloppy, a little too silly. Definitely feels like a lot of bros out in Colorado making a musical movie. You know what I mean? But it is really fun. It is really fun. If that is your style of humor, like, if you like South Park, you have to watch this, because I feel like you would be so delighted to see these guys, like, early work and, like, early humor, and how they, like, were doing stuff. I think you would totally get a kick out of it. If you're not super into that humor, I feel like you would just be like, what is this? But yeah, so he basically tells the story of how he led these people. He had a horse at the beginning named Leanne that he loves and has had since he was a kid. The horse ends up leaving him, and apparently he had an ex-girlfriend at the time who, I guess, had cheated on him or something, so he named the horse in the movie Leanne after her, which is, I mean, funny, I guess. But there's also a lot of sexual references to the horse, like, as though she's a woman. But then we always find out, like, it comes back to the joke of she's actually a horse and not a woman. So that comes up a lot. There's a lot of sex jokes. There's a lot of, like, there's, like, these Japanese Indians, I guess, that come up that is, like, totally, like, racist and ridiculous, over the top insanity, but in the South Park way of, like, they're just, doing their South Park thing. But yeah, and they come across a bunch of different people on their journeys, from these trappers that are sort of the bullies of the Wild Wild West, I guess. Then we have the Japanese Indians, who end up kind of saving his life at the end of the movie. And it's a series of songs and weird stuff. I guess I don't really want to go through this plot for plot moment, but I guess I'll say some of my favorite moments of this, because there were some things that I did find quite funny. One, there was an entire number, I think, called Let's Build a Snowman, which I found hilarious because of Frozen's Do You Want to Build a Snowman song. And it feels like a parody version of the Frozen song, and yet this was made so many years earlier, so I don't know how that happened, but it's very funny. I also really enjoyed, at one point, we have Alfred Packer do a full-on ballet nightmare thing where he's dancing actual ballet for a long period of time. I really liked that part. There's some more gore towards the end when we finally see, like, kind of how all the violence went down. including like a guy with a big axe in his face, things like that. I enjoyed the gore of that. But overall, I don't know if this is something I would watch again. I don't know if this is something I would recommend other people watch, unless you like South Park. I don't know what Happy Tree Friends are. Does anyone know what that is? Very curious. That man says, my thoughts were the Beavis and Butthead Do America did the same thing but didn't use shock value. Interesting. Yeah, my family, or my brothers, they watched more like Beavis and Butthead when I was growing up. And like less South Park. I don't know why. Okay. So those are some of my favorite moments from it. The cast is the only people that I think are worth noting are Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and most of the other people, just a lot of general white dudes that I don't know. But yeah, there's not that many songs. There's only like 11 songs in this. And the only one I really remember was Let's Build a Snowman because of the Frozen thing. And that's just the truth of it. Does anyone care if I say my favorite Sweeney Todd songs instead? I'm assuming not. Plus there's a delay, so I'm doing it anyway. I think my favorite songs... Wait, why is there not a song list down here? How dare. Okay, I got it. Okay. Favorite songs. Ooh. Definitely Greenfinch. Love that song. I love Worst Pies in London. I think it's a really great introduction to our characters. I love Not While I'm Around. I think that is the sweetest little song. If my Toby sang that song to me, I would just cry tears of joy. If dogs could sing, that's what I would want. I like By the Sea. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites. And I actually do like the Pierelli's Miracle Elixir. I think that's a really fun moment in general. But yeah, I would say top are Worst Pies in London, Greenfinch, and Not While I'm Around. That's what I would say are my top. Let me know if you guys in the chat have other fave songs from either. You can definitely say from Cannibal if you want to. Oh wait, actually I love this too. You guys saying what was your favorite musical of the month? I think that's a great idea. Let me know what your favorite musicals of the month were. So we did, let's see, we started with Rocky Horror, and then we did Little Shop, then we did Repo the Genetic Opera, and now we have Sweeney Todd and Cannibal. So let me know. Let me know what your favorite was. I think Little Shop brought me the most delight. I think that one brought me the most delight. But Rocky Horror is that's a ride or die freaking love. And I love Sweeney Todd too. I love them all. I love them all. Some of you only liked Little Shop. Whatever. And I do love Repo. Repo just, though I love that movie, the songs don't get as stuck in my head for me. So it's like somehow less memorable. Like Sweeney Todd and Rocky Horror are such like my childhood. Like there's so much nostalgia in those. And then Little Shop, I guess because I don't know. That one I just didn't realize how good it was. Like with the puppetry and everything, like that one just ended up sort of blowing my mind. Yeah, it was just freaking amazing. Just freaking amazing. Okay. All right, guys. And so next month, we're coming to the end of Horror Club now. Next month, we are doing outer space horror films. So I think what I'm going to do, I think we are going to start with Killer Clowns from Outer Space because I think it's really freaking fun. And then I think what I'm going to do is maybe tonight or tomorrow, I'm just going to put out like a tweet asking for favorite outer space horror films because that honestly is a subgenre I'm not super familiar with, and I can certainly do some research. But if other people have recommendations, we're definitely going to have to do that. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about outer space horror. I think and also people ask me like what that meant. I think it has to be related. It needs to either take place in outer space or have the characters have to be from outer space. If that makes sense. It's like Killer Clowns, they're from outer space. Like Alien takes place in outer space. Like it has to just take place in outer space or have characters from outer space as like the main thing of the movie. So that's what I'm gonna say. But yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be really, really fun. Particularly for me because it's definitely, I mean, I have seen Killer Clowns, but that's definitely a subgenre that I don't know very well. Like, I haven't even seen all the Alien films, I'm pretty sure. My brother is actually watching all the Alien films right now, and he's saying how good they are. And I know they are. Like, I love the first one, but I haven't really dived into the whole series. Yes, Mars Attacks. Yes, yes, yes. I have that one on VHS. I love Men in Black. Honestly, Men in Black was one of my favorite movies growing up. I thought it was so good. And also, like, kind of scary at times. Maybe not as an adult, but as a kid, I thought scary. But yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I do need to hop on my Patreon hangout. So if you're coming to that, I'll see you there. I actually haven't even picked the movie. I think I know what I want to watch, but I'm scared too many people have seen it. So we'll get there when we get there. But I'm very excited. So actually, let me go ahead and tweet this so you guys can put these recommendations on Twitter. And if you don't have Twitter, you can comment it in this video, just because it's kind of hard to go by the chat. So I'm going to say, what are your favorite outer space horror films? And then I'm going to hashtag horror movie club. Sorry if that hashtag already exists for something else, but it's ours now. Is outer space one word or two? Is that dumb? I feel dumb right now. Okay, it's 2 words. It says this. Okay. Alright, I tweeted that, so you guys can just go reply to that. And I will see you all next week. I have no idea what I'm going to do for the horror trailer. For the Horror Movie Club trailer. No idea. No idea. But I'll think about that. And try to think of something somewhat funny. We'll have to see. But yeah. I hope you guys like the trailers, because I always just do them because I think they're funny, but I have no idea if anyone else thinks they're funny. But I'll keep doing them for now. But I will see you guys. And I'm actually putting up another Chattanooga review tomorrow, so I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. But you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Truly the highlight of my week is talking to you guys on here, so I will see you soon. Bye-bye.